In the last days of the war, Hitler's once mighty regime lay in shambles. At one time, the German Führer and his armies controlled nearly the entire landmass of Europe. By the end of April 1945, he could barely hold his own capital city. The American and British armies closed in from the west. The Soviet Red Army attacked from the east. Together, the Allies had virtually destroyed the German war fighting machine. In his final days, Hitler signed an order and named the new president of the Reich. Grand Admiral Karl Dönitz would be the second Führer and inherit command of what remained of the German forces. No one questioned Admiral Dönitz's loyalty and dedication to the Nazi cause. During the war, as commander of the U-boat fleet, he faithfully carried out Hitler's orders. But now, as the new Führer, he could not ignore the disastrous reports coming from the battlefront. German soldiers were walking into prisoner-of-war camps by the tens of thousands. Dönitz had decided to end the war as quickly as possible, but he wanted to delay the general surrender of all forces in order to, as he put it, save the maximum number of Germans from Bolshevism and enslavement. The admiral wanted to buy more time for German civilians and soldiers who were trying to avoid capture by the Russians and struggling to reach the jurisdiction of American and British troops. But the Supreme Allied Commander, General Dwight Eisenhower, refused any deals. The Allies had agreed among themselves that the German surrender must be unconditional. The Allies would not accept any conditions or consider any special options requested by Admiral Dönitz and the German commanders. The Germans would have to carry out, without exception, the orders of their Allied captors.
The Allies, Russian and Western Allies, were in total agreement about what they were going to do. There was no division between them over the terms of the surrender. Unconditional surrender, no separate terms, no deal, nothing. Just lay down your arms and that is it.
Dönitz was running out of time. The rapid advance of Allied armies had isolated large parts of the German force in Italy. On Sunday afternoon, April 29th, two German officers, looking rather incongruous in civilian clothing, sat down at the headquarters of the British Army near Naples and signed the first formal surrender of German forces. Their signatures handed over to the British nearly 1 million men. 3 days later, on May 2nd, the ranking German left alive in Berlin emerged from his bunker with a white flag and surrendered the capital and its garrison to the Soviet Red Army. From his headquarters in northern Germany, Admiral Dönitz realized he couldn't play for time any longer. He sent a representative, Admiral von Friedeberg, across the front lines into the British sector to meet with General Bernard Montgomery. Dönitz instructed von Friedeberg to surrender all of the German forces fighting in northern Germany, even those fighting the Russians to the east. But Montgomery rejected that offer. The British Field Marshal would accept only the surrender of enemy forces directly facing his front line. Montgomery told von Friedeberg to return to Dönitz and relay this message. The next evening, May 4th, von Friedeberg and his delegation returned to Montgomery's headquarters. They agreed to surrender only the German forces in Denmark, Holland, and northern Germany.
We've assembled here today to accept the surrender terms which have been made with the delegation from the German army. I will now read out the terms of that instrument of surrender.
The document explained that the German surrender was accepted without conditions. The Germans would have to comply with all orders issued by the Allied commanders.
And the German delegation will now sign this paper. General Admiral von Friedeberg will sign first. Kohl will sign next.
On May 6th, Admiral Dönitz sent his army commander, General Jodl, and Admiral von Friedeberg to Eisenhower's headquarters in northern France to negotiate the surrender of all the German forces.
The German delegation arrived, expecting to be treated as professionals, to meet Eisenhower, possibly have coffee, certainly handshakes, and then discuss surrender terms. They were met by